Hi folks, this is Nathan with Two Guys That Are Riding. Today we're out here at Apple Shakopee Ford at the dealership, and we're talking with Mustang owners. And we have a whole collection of cars from Shelby GT350s to a Cobra replica. And then behind us right now, we have a 1965 Ford Mustang 2+2 fastback. Yep. And that's an early one from 1965. And we're here with Jim and Cris. And they are the owners of this beautiful car, and so we're going to talk about that. So first of all, Jim and Cris, this car has a lot of history.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this.
Well, it was my first car that I bought in 1970, so I've had this car for 50 years now.
So it was only 5 years old when you bought it.
Yes, and it had been, I think I probably was the third owner at the time, because I think I bought it. When I bought it, it had been in an accident, and a body guy probably bought it and patched it up, and then I ended up buying it as a young teenager. I just graduated out of high school, needed to have a car to get to work, and saw this Mustang.
Cris, did you know him at this time?
No.
No, I met him in 72.
Okay. Yeah. Was the car still running in 72?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was running.
Okay.
It was, I think it drew me to him.
Oh, so you liked the car.
I did.
You that.
The job I had was at a nursing home, and my mom worked there, and her mom worked at the same nursing home. That's where we met, is at this nursing home, and she saw me come up with my car all the time, and we
She's like,
kinda,
who's that guy driving that car?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I worked at the front desk, so.
And I was a house cleaning, so I always kept the front desk area nice and clean because.
Obviously. Okay, so you bought it in 1970s,
Yep.
65. So for our viewers, what does the 2+2 part mean?
Well, to make it a 2+2, the back seats actually fold up, and you actually have two more seats when you fold that up.
All right, which newer Mustangs just don't have.
No, they only had this in
They
60.
took that cover out completely.
Yep.
So yeah, you actually have a lot more storage
Oh yeah.
than newer Mustangs.
And then there's a door between the inside and the trunk. So if you have something longer, you flip that up, and it
and
holds
you can
up.
actually go from the trunk forward.
You can get
Yeah.
Well, you'll never see that today.
No.
Wow. And so there are some the wind scoops here.
They actually work. There's an actual vent on the inside.
That you open or close.
That's your airflow. So all you have, I didn't have air conditioning. It's just, so there's two vents that you manually open underneath, and then the air will flow through the car and out through these vents.
It's kind of the same thing where, if you're sitting in your car and all the windows are closed and you roll down the driver's window a little bit.
Yeah.
But then you roll down the back window a little bit, and you notice that the whole flow of air, the suction, whatever, changes.
Yep.
That's what that allows that to do.
Exactly.
And you've got one on each side.
Yep.
So
and you close it during the wintertime. You close it so you don't get cold air coming through, and you don't get
So it does have a heater in it.
Oh yeah, it's got a good heater in it.
Just no air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
Besides the two windows. Well,
No,
you
and
could
the
say
vents.
two
And
windows and two
our
vents. Maybe that was a 2+2.
It's got
Yeah.
floor vents right where your feet are, so you can open those vents.
Oh,
manually.
right out to the outside.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you do get air that way.
Yeah.
Don't go through big puddles with that.
No. And then I was drafted in the Army in 72.
That's right.
To 74, I was active in Germany. So this car was just stored underneath a tarp in my dad's backyard. And so when I got home from that, it needed to be cleaned up a little bit. Well, we ended up getting married. By then we had known each other, and we ended up getting married in 75, 6 months after I got out of the Army.
Okay.
And so I had like a Abra paint job done on it to make it look nice, so we had it for our wedding.
Okay.
And then we drove it off and on, for the next.
For a few years. Till we bought our first house, and then we kind of put it in the garage.
Then children came along, and work came along, and
Life happens.
Life happened, and it just more or less sat in the garage, and then we bought it.
But it's interesting that you kept it in the garage. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier, and you left the garage because you wanted it.
Yeah.
At some point, you thought that we need to just be reasonable and get rid of the car.
I did for a little while. We have 4 kids, and
So
he talked me into keeping it.
we had one too many
I'm glad
kids that
we
would fit in
did.
the car.
What a neat story, though. So then, okay, so it sits in the garage. You decide to keep it. You hang on. At what point did you pull it back out of that garage and say, let's get it working?
Actually, in 2015.
Okay, so not that long ago.
Yeah, it started out when we moved up to Rogers, our new house. It just sat in the garage for 30 years and didn't do a thing. And then 2015, a real good friend of mine that I worked with, I was an auto mechanic for 40 years, and he had built cars, and Cris got him, and he says, can you help Jim fix his car up before he retires? And Paul Enger was his name, and he said, sure, I'll help you. And she's thinking like a 2-month project.
Yes.
Well, it took us 2.5 years because we completely rewent
And
through
most
the whole
cars,
car.
when you do the level that you did, because this is basically a frame-off restoration.
Yeah.
That is going to happen in a couple of months.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to have. Now, tell them how you paid your friend.
I asked him, what can I give him for it? And he says, all you got to do is keep me in Dr. Pepper while I'm at your house. And so I bought a case
We all
of
need
Dr.
a friend
Pepper.
like that, don't we?
Exactly.
We do.
He was a master at fabricating metal and stuff like that.
So he could
He
redo.
fabricated, he painted it, he did the whole thing in my garage. This
So
is all done.
basically, if I remember right, you've done some of the floor pan.
Quite a few of the floor pans.
And there was a few areas of rust
yeah.
on the outside of the car.
The
So what you
bottom of the
could save,
doors.
you saved, but
Yep.
what you couldn't, you cut out and replaced.
Right. Yep.
Okay, now the engine would have been 289.
Oh, actually, the original engine was an inline 6-cylinder.
Oh, it was the 6.
The 176 cylinder.
Oh.
I had to actually put a 289 in it when I first got out of the Army, and it ran okay.
Yep.
But then when we redid it, I had a different engine that I wanted to put in here, and so we put a whole new. It's a 302 out of a 95 GT Mustang.
Okay. Yep, the little newer V8.
Yep.
When we were dating, he had the big wide tires on the back, and the rear end was jacked up.
Oh, a little hot rodish.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes. And we had been dating a few times, and the cop stopped us. And I'm looking at him like, what's going on? The cop pulled out his tape measure, measured the back of the rear end,
The bumper. Yeah.
the
Really?
bumper, and said it was too high.
Bumper's 1.5 inches too high. You got to get this car lowered.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah, they were real picky about it, and I think it's because it was a little bit noisier and a hot rod and young kids, and they were just seeing what's going on, kind of a thing. But that was the reason he stopped me.
He was making a lot of noise in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right, so first of all, this is a beautiful looking engine. I mean, just how clean it is, how organized. You know, you've obviously paid attention to color schemes and all sorts of really neat things.
Yeah.
So just tell us briefly about what we got here.
Engine was an original out of a 95 GT Mustang, so it had fuel injection and everything on it. We took that all off because I wanted to keep the engine to look like the car, like it belonged in this year car. So I took that off, put an Edelbrock intake with a Holley 600 carburetor, and then we had different valve covers. I like these ones here that matched the red and black with my scheme of the rest of the car, and put those on. Then we put an electronic distributor in it, and in order to change the engine over, we had to get an old school timing cover with a mechanical fuel pump in it and modify all that so that it would work mechanically like the cars did back in 65, and then we had a custom exhaust put in.
And you must have shaved off.
Yes, so we made these panels where the shock absorbers normally would sit up in here and make it so tight on Mustangs to put a big engine in them. And we took, because we put a Mustang II front suspension in the whole thing. So we replaced the whole front suspension with disc brakes upgrade and that kind of a thing. And it makes the car ride a lot more stable, and with the brakes, a lot better braking system and everything.
Much better.
And we got a stabilizer bar going across the front, so now it corners like just corners on a rail right now. And then we got a different radiator and had to modify that and make a fan shroud for it, and the whole engine compartment we had to sand down and cleaned it all up. And
so a lot of this work you did yourself.
we did everything ourselves.
Because you are actually what we would call like the gods of transmission.
Well,
You were like a really good transmission specialist.
Yeah, that's
He
all.
was.
I was a mechanic at Prestige Lincoln Mercury for 31 years, and all I did was I was their transmission guy, and then Maury bought out the Prestige, and we moved it. He hired me to work for him at Maury's for the last 12 years. So I was a mechanic for 42 years, and mostly just doing transmission work.
Wow.
Auto transmission.
So you did all the transmission work in this car.
Oh yeah. Well, I did all the engine work. And
Probably
Paul
in
and I-
your sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the inside. Okay, so now on the inside, have the seats themselves, the front seats I think have been reupholstered, but the rear are original.
The back seats were reupholstered before I went in the Army. So
Okay.
those are 40 years old.
These are
the
40
seats.
years old?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the rear seats are original. And then
Wow.
the inside is almost all of it is original, just repainted. But I upgraded, like the radio is electronic radio.
Correct, but it looks period correct.
Yes, and then the dash is the original dash. Only I put all LED lights inside that, so they glow blue now. And then the whole interior used to be all red. Well, I decided to go with the black and red theme, so we put black carpeting in, put a black dash pad in it, and then these panels that he's looking at right now.
Yep.
Cris and I made them, but then we had the custom stitching done by my son, who worked in a hot rod shop down in Arizona.
Okay.
So we sent him down there, and his guy did the stitching on it for us, and then sent him back, and then we installed everything. What makes this car a 2+2 is that this back seat actually folds up and becomes 2 more seats.
Then you can see the awesome quality of those.
And those are
rear
original.
seats. Yeah, original. That's just
the
incredible.
original upholstery.
Wow. And I like how when the seats folded forward, the side of the door went in up and more.
Yep, yep.
And like on a slant to give you
Yep,
more room to get
yep.
in. And they actually went completely almost flat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Cris, what else? Now, you helped do the door panels.
Yes.
Have you helped with other things?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of holding things and supporting things while he was screwing things in. And
That's a very important part to do because you have to have somebody.
Somebody has to
To
hold
do that, and
while
someone
I'm
that's not
underneath,
willing to do
somebody's
it.
got to hold on top,
some of the rubber trim and the metal trim, yeah. And cutting the carpet. I do a lot of
Well,
patterns.
you married right.
Yeah. Well, she's a seamstress also. So, like when we had to make a pattern to fit carpeting in or
Right.
material in, she would make the pattern for me, and then I could copy it out on whatever I was installing, and then install it in the car.
All right, let's walk to the back here a minute.
I just had that's my personalized license plate that we.
I like that, and as you get older, it's a really good reminder of who you are every time you get out of your car. You look and say, oh, yeah, I'm Jim 65.
Well, yeah, but people would always ask me what year it is, and I said it's 65.
It was a contest between that or First Love.
First,
Yeah.
I like the one that you chose.
Yeah,
I do
that.
too.
Yeah.
And so back here, everything is
Just like
stock
it-
from
yep.
what it would have been in 65.
Yep. The normal early 65s have no backup lights, so that's why this car.
Yeah, those are. You're right. I did notice that those are absent from here.
Yeah, you don't, because I wanted to keep it period correct for what the car as it was built.
Right.
So all the trim, the only thing that is different, like the bumpers and the horse and the corral and the grill and the 2 rear view mirrors, is the only trim I had to buy. Everything else is original trim.
Car. Wow. What a fantastic story. I mean, first of all, you bought it when you were in high school.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though you may have been the third owner, to have owned it from 1970 till now.
Yeah.
And then, to have, you have, I believe you shared your first kiss in here. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
I got that right. I didn't want to get too personal, but but that is unique. How many people can say that about something, anything that's been in your life that long?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it looks like the day it came off the showroom floor.
And then, like I said, we had 4 children, and so they had never seen the car even run.
Oh man!
Until
It's always been parked in the garage.
until
I
we
didn't
had,
think about that.
They always knew about Dad's. So when we had it running, we got it running here a year ago, or in 2018. they all wanted to go for a ride in Dad's car.
Sure they did.
So they were all home one time, and everybody got to go for a ride. We all 4 kids, and we got to go for a ride in the car.
Now, speaking of that, and that may be your favorite memory, but do you have both of you, so think about it, doesn't have to be your absolute favorite thing, but a favorite memory you have of the car, a good memory you have of the car. You just mentioned one of them. I think that would be a great one.
The day that the day that we got the motor running for the first time in 30 years was, and we were outside and we got this thing started, and
yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I would say when we got married, we drove it from the church to the reception, and
we have pictures.
It was fun
as we built it.
Well, what an incredible and beautiful story.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us today.
You're welcome.